All right, guys, the Utah Jazz get an impressive win against the San Antonio Spurs. This is the Hoops Nerd postgame show. All right, guys, the Jazz look like the Jazz of earlier in the season, and I think I have an idea why. Before we talk about the Jazz, though, I want to talk about uh, about the San Antonio Spurs. I just realized that I used the wrong background on this video, but it still works because Bojan Bogdanovic was amazing this game. But anyways, San Antonio Spurs. They've been looking. I've watched them a couple times. I watched them that first half against the Boston Celtics. Interestingly enough, I stopped watching the second half after the Spurs were up by 30, and they just kind of look like a team to me that can beat anyone on any given night because they're well coached. They have nice players. But tonight, I don't know if it's because the Jazz really counteract a lot of what they do. Maybe it's Rudy Gobert with his inside presence and things like that. But the Spurs were not able to really score anything inside. Their paint points were not good, and they don't take a lot of threes, and so it was just not a great mix when you have the Jazz hitting a lot of threes tonight. It's going to be hard for a team to win when you've got one team kind of playing more efficient and high-powered basketball, the other is not. But I still really love a lot of things about what the Spurs team does. I mean, DeMar DeRozan had a decent night, 10 for 17 from the field. Didn't take a three. That's okay, though. That's not his game. 6 assists, 3 steals. He's a really nice DeMar DeRozan's one of those guys where you just kind of want him playing point guard, honestly, because his size is really good, and he is an underrated passer. And because he's got that mid-range game, he can do a lot of things with the ball in his hands and do a lot. So to me, he's one of those guys that old school style, but he's fun to watch. Keldon Johnson, and I believe he's a rookie. Tell me, I'm not going to look it up. Tell me in the comments, Spurs fans, but I believe he is. But he's one of those guys that every time I watch them play, he just looks like a really nice NBA player to me. I don't know if he's going to be a star or anything like that, but he's just nice. Tonight, he didn't have his greatest game, 3 for 10 from the field, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, but he's one of those guys that I would watch if I think he might be in his second, third year. I can't remember. But Spurs fans, let me know in the comments. You always are able to let me know in the comments, by the way. But anyways, he's one of those guys that I think he's really nice. And I really love DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray's a stud. That guy was 7 for 13 from the field with 6 rebounds, 5 assists. He's just a nice player. And he's one of those guys, I don't know what the future holds for the Spurs. They're just definitely one of those teams that's kind of just in that middle ground where they're playing for a play-in spot in the playoffs. If they were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be a playoff team for sure. But you've got a nice guy in DeJounte Murray. Keldon Johnson's nice. I haven't watched enough Vassell to really know what to think about him, but tonight he was 4 for 8 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 11 points. That's not bad. 6 rebounds. He's one of those guys I wouldn't mind watching more before I really come down with kind of like how good is this guy and stuff like that. But he's really nice. So this Spurs team has some nice things. I just don't feel like they really have that guy or that young player that's really going to punch them over the top. Like, I think DeJounte Murray can be a starter on a really nice team. But I don't think, if DeJounte Murray's your best player, I don't know how far you can go, Same goes with DeMar DeRozan. And we saw all those years with the Toronto Raptors where they were led by DeRozan, where they're probably being benefited by being in the Eastern Conference and playing so many bad teams. And he's more of a middle-of-the-pack guy. If he's your best player in the Western Conference, that's just not good enough, Might be good enough to make it to the playoffs if they get that play in. It's going to be tough, though. I believe the Spurs have one of the most difficult schedules for the rest of the season, including playing the Jazz twice. And the Jazz have really figured it out. All right, let's talk about the Utah Jazz. The Jazz have now played without Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell for at least 4 or 5 games now. And I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight they play really well against this Spurs team. This Spurs team is playing hard. They are trying to make the playoffs. They are desperate to make that play in. And I think that what we're kind of seeing with this Jazz team, minus Donovan Mitchell and minus Mike Conley, is that the guys are now having played with each other for a little bit, have some chemistry together. They know what to do with each other now. When you're used to playing with Mike Conley or Donovan Mitchell at all times, and they're kind of running the show, and you're playing off of those guys, and then all of a sudden they're not there, and you're playing, it's takes a minute to kind of figure it out and start playing with each other and figuring each other out without those guys. And I think that's what's happened with this Jazz team a little bit is you've got some chemistry growing with these guys. It's interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Spurs again next game, because for one, they've got a feel for them, and two, guys on this team are really figuring things out, how to play with each other without Mitchell and Conley, and just figuring things out in general. The guy that we have to talk about is Bojan Bogdanovic. Bojan Bogdanovic has been absolutely incredible the last month, really. He has been absolutely unbelievable, and he's the Bojan Bogdanovic we were used to last year before he was injured and left, where he is playing in the post and hitting post shots with kind of that little in the paint pull-up mid-range. He's got the three-point shot that's falling. Tonight, Bojan Bogdanovic scores, 25 points in 33 minutes. He was 2 for 7 from 3, so that's not as efficient as honestly I expected, but he was 10 for 17 from the field. He was a plus 23. The other guy that was a big plus-minus for them was Royce ONeal. Those two guys played fantastic. And I have to say, if you're watching this Jazz team with without Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, and you were saying, well, the two guys I'd really like to figure it out is Bojan Bogdanovic and Royce ONeal, because those are the guys that are going to be playing off of Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley in the playoffs. So Jazz fans, get excited. Thank you, Hiram. $4.99. Hiram Taylor, you're the man. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. It really makes a difference for me. Thank you, Hiram. Thank you. Anyways, can't say enough good things about Bojan Bogdanovic. And then, the other guy that was so good this game was Royce ONeal. His stat line tonight was not something that's going to make anyone, raise their eyebrows. 3 for 4 from the field is really nice. 1 for 2 from the field, but he had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. And he has figured out how to rebound the basketball, for one. Royce ONeal is a rebounding threat now, and he really can play that 4 spot. And if he's hitting those threes like he was tonight, 1 for 2, he only took 2, but that shot looks better to me. And I don't know off the top of my head what he's shooting, but he's somewhere around like 38% in like the last 7 or 8 games. That 3-point shot is falling. And when that shot is falling and you've got consistent 3-point shooting from all 4 players on the floor playing outside of Rudy Gobert, you've got something going for you. That's Royce ONeal is an X factor as well as Bojan Bogdanovic. Royce ONeal less so than Bojan on the offensive end, because all Royce really needs to be worried about is shooting the 3. Here and there, I've liked how you can see him driving to the rim, and he will actually pass the ball, and we saw that tonight with his multiple assists. But he's got a nice little inside game too, and he's more athletic than you think. So Royce can drive the basketball, but 9 times out of 10, you want him just shooting that open spot up 3. But Bojan Bogdanovic becomes the third option off of Donovan as far as perimeter players. I don't really consider Rudy Gobert an option. Rudy Gobert is a rolling big man that should be just scoring off of pick and rolls. That's really what, offensive rebounds and putbacks. So really your offensive options is Donovan Mitchell 1, Mike Conley 2, and Bojan Bogdanovic 3 for the starters. Bojan Bogdanovic, how he's playing right now, if he's getting the third best defender every night or second best, that's really exciting if Bojan Bogdanovic is playing like this, because Bojan Bogdanovic is killing it. He's absolutely figuring it out. And that 3-point shot, he's going to get more open ones when Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley return. The only issue the Jazz are going to have is just making sure that Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell have enough time to really just kind of gel with these guys. But considering that they've played so many games already, I don't think that's going to be as much of a problem. I think for Donovan Mitchell, it's the biggest thing, but I think he can do it. Robert Hall, $2.99. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. Everyone brought hustle tonight. Shazam! I like it. And I agree. A lot of those steals, those 2 steals for Royce, was him just anticipating and going for the steal, and I love it. Royce ONeal at times is going to struggle against the smaller guards. We know this, but I don't think it's a surprise that he did really well against a bigger wing in like DeMar DeRozan, Keldon Johnson, Vassell. He can guard those bigger wings and do a nice job. It's when he is against like a smaller guard that he kind of struggles a little bit. But tonight he was anticipating the ball. He was getting steals and getting dunks on the other end. I love it. I love it. I love it. When he's doing that, that changes everything for the Jazz because it provides some transition opportunities. I mean, I don't know if it changes everything, but if Royce ONeal creating transition opportunities like that tonight, where he's anticipating getting steals and then going the other way, that's easy baskets. And that improves, 2 to 4 points from transition that you don't normally get wins you a lot of basketball games. How many close games have the Jazz been in this year where they've just barely lost and they could have used 4 points because they didn't get transition points? Cody Strickland's, James, shout out to my wife, Jessie. Shout out to Cody's wife, Jessie. Shout out to Jessie. Welcome, Jessie, to the channel. Welcome. Or just a shout out. Shout out. Anyways, those 2 guys were monster tonight. Obviously, we have to talk about Rudy Gobert. We mentioned him a little bit. Rudy Gobert was a beast tonight. 10 for 14 from the field. 15 rebounds, 24 points, 3 blocks, 2 steals. That head nod was amazing. And 1 assist. He was a +9, but that +9 doesn't tell the whole story. When Rudy Gobert was on the floor, it fixed things. He was incredible. And Rudy Gobert is the defensive player of the year. It's not close. It's not even a competition anymore. That's locked in. That's done. That is done. He is the best defensive player in the NBA. He wards off every single guy coming to the rim. You saw it so many times tonight. Watch this game again if you have the time. And watch the times they tried to drive on Rudy Gobert and decided, nope. They decided not to, because guess what happens? When you go against Rudy Gobert and you challenge him, you get embarrassed. So do not challenge Rudy Gobert at the rim unless you want to get embarrassed. Like we saw it with DeMar DeRozan. He just decided, I guess I'm going to try it. And he tried it and he found out. He found out what happens. And so Rudy Gobert is the defensive player of the year. There's no questions. Anyone who tells you otherwise is telling on themselves and is not someone you should really listen to very much. And the national guys that were pushing Ben Simmons and stuff, they've gotten very quiet lately. Bill Simmons, very quiet when they're talking about those things. Doesn't push the Ben Simmons thing anymore. Because why? Because Rudy Gobert has just shut up everyone else. And by the way, Rudy Gobert does not have to go out and tell people he's the defensive player of the year. You know what he does? He shows it. He shows you that he's the best defensive player in the NBA night after night. And a game like this is a perfect example. He decimated the Spurs. And the reason the Jazz were so dominant against them tonight was Rudy Gobert on the defensive end. Obviously, you have Bojan Bogdanovic scoring. You had Jordan Clarkson had a few moments tonight, although those averages are still not where you want them to be. Just not hitting shots enough. But because Rudy Gobert is so dominant and just changes everything, and having good offensive nights too, where he's just dunking it, putbacks, just being a presence around the rim that opens things up for other players. He's such a dominant force. He is the most unique player in the league because of how different he is than every other superstar in the game. But he is a superstar, no questions asked. If a superstar is someone that helps you win and is a top 15 player, because Rudy Gobert is a top 15 player, he has made 3 All-NBA teams. Last time I checked, only 15 players make the All-NBA team, which makes Rudy Gobert a top 15 NBA player. The end. Robert Hall, $4.99. Thanks again, Robert. Thank you so much. Rudy freaking Hulk smash defensive player of the year, Gobert. That's right. That's right. Rudy Gobert is the best, and Ben Simmons only hopes he can be as dominant as Rudy Gobert is. He prays and wishes he could. But guess what? Those prayers aren't getting answered because the basketball gods have seen what Rudy Gobert does. They have accepted his sacrifice, and he is the defensive player of the year. He is. He is. Don't forget it. Levon Panhorse, thank you, sir. $4.99. I appreciate it so much, Levon. National media hates the fact the Jazz are good and refuse to pay them in any A-block segment. I agree. And, okay, first off, Roxanne Hardison. Thank you, Roxanne. Let's see. Roxanne. Yes, Roxanne, welcome to Rookie. We got a new team. We got a new player on the team with potential, Roxanne. Thank you. And I love seeing that basketball next to your name. It's only a matter of time before you break through, Roxanne. But anyways, Levon, you're right. They hate it. But the Utah Jazz are an example of how the NBA needs to change. Because this, and we have the NFL draft the other night, and it's a lot of fun. People love it. And one thing the NFL does better than the NBA is that they promote everyone. You know what they do? They put the best games on every week. They do their best to get the best game on TV when they can. Because why? Because they want the best product on the screen. They aren't bumping Jazz games so they can get a LeBron James Laker game against like the Orlando Magic or something like that. They put the best teams playing the best teams, and that's the premier game. They do not care who the team is. They don't care if it's from Kansas City or from Minnesota or from wherever. Whoever is the best team playing against the other best team, that's who's playing that week. And that's what the NBA should be. Instead, they have like the Jazz getting bumped so they can put a Lakers game against the Nuggets, and the Lakers get blown out because LeBron's ankle's hurt, or other games we've seen that happen. It's ridiculous. Cody Strickland, $5. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the shout out for my wife. You made her smile, brother. Well, I'm glad. Shout out. Let's see. I forgot the name. Let's see. Shout out Jesse. Yeah, I remembered. I didn't have to look it up. You didn't see me do that. Jesse, you're the best. Shout out to Jesse. But anyways, play the best games. Just do that. That's all you have to do. And guess what? Promote the teams again. Not just players. I love Donovan Mitchell. See? I love Donovan Mitchell. He's incredible. But you shouldn't just promote Donovan Mitchell. You should promote the Jazz. You shouldn't just promote LeBron James. You should promote the Lakers. Promote teams, not just players. You can promote the players within the games and get people hyped about certain guys. But I swear people are so hung up on the ratings of the 1990s because of Michael Jordan that they think that that's the only style that's the only model for getting viewers, is having like one superstar that everyone roots for. I swear they got so many views because of the Warriors with Steph and Clay in them that they decided that's how we're going to do it forever. And guess what? They did it. You know why people watched? Because they were the best team and they were fun to watch. It wasn't just the players. It was the team. So promote the best teams. And guess what? The fans will find players they love. I promise you. If you do that, the game will get better. The ratings will go up. You will find viewership outside of other people. But the NBA is so obsessed with just talking about like 3 or 4 players. It's always LeBron, no matter what. We're going to talk about LeBron, no matter what. We're always going to talk about, I guess they've chosen Nikola Jokic. But even the Denver fans who would be on here probably disagree. He probably doesn't get talked about enough, as much as he should. Or, we all know the players. Or the Brooklyn Nets. We're just seeing Kevin Durant and all these guys all the time. And guess what? We spend so much time talking about the drama and things like that we're missing out on the actual product. The actual game on the floor. Talk about the games. Because it's a beautiful game. It really is. It's a beautiful game. And if you promote the games, you will get more fans. Promote the Jazz. because they win a lot of games. And by the way, the Jazz games where they've played against the best teams have been really good. I lost my mind when the Jazz played the Philadelphia 76ers. And by the way, I do a lot of research lately on all the different, NBA YouTuber channels out there. I'm trying to grow this channel. Guess what? All the channels that talked about the Jazz versus the Sixers that game, massive views. People like watching the Jazz, but you know why? Because they like watching good basketball. That game got eyeballs on screens. And guess what? The Jazz versus the Suns, when it was the tiebreaker on the line, guess what? You could feel the intensity of that game. You could feel it. It was incredible. But we don't talk about that. We talk about players. That's all we talk about. We get Devin Booker stuff. Well, guess what? No one cares that much about Devin Booker that they're going to turn the TV on to watch it. You know what gets people to turn the TV on? Good basketball games. Good basketball games. That's what does it. That's what does it. Cody Strickland. Hey, James, you thinking of making a Hall of Fame subscribers? Maybe. I mean, I haven't thought about it, but maybe. Maybe as we grow. Maybe. Let's see. I want your shirt, James. Cody Strickland. I love this shirt. This is on SLC Dunk. This was the SLC Dunk t-shirt we did when Donovan Mitchell said, I'll share it in the community tab. I'll put a link to it. So if you guys want to buy it, that would be awesome. It's a cool shirt. Guys, that's all I really got to say tonight. I completely agree with this, thing the NBA does where it doesn't talk about its players enough. Guess what? Just talk about the games and you will love it. Guys, like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I would really appreciate it. Hit the bell if you haven't already to just know when I go live. I saw someone miss the live. You know what? Go hit the bell and you'll know when I go live. If you watch this on your phone. Now, let's see. Oh, I got to refresh this because you never know. The channel's growing, guys, and you guys are a part of it. The channel's growing because of you guys. Let's see. We're going to give a shout out to our All-Stars because that's what we do at the end of the video. Shout out to JT Buckets Wardell, Austin R. Grant, Eric C., Kelsey Hamer, The Hammer, Donald Schooley, Cody Strickland, and Jesse tonight. Mitt Roebuck, DW to CB, Darren Williams to Carlos Boozer, Jorge Arizaga, mi amigo de Mexico, Lee Christensen, Shan Therick, Ryan Perry, the legend, Justin Ty H, Patrick Akubo, my buddy, Robert Hall. Oh, by the way, Robert, thanks for all the donations tonight. I really appreciate it. And DW, Jazz going all the way. I agree. Guess what? If Bojan Bogdanovic shoots like he's shooting right now, and Royce ONeal plays with more confidence and shoots the ball like he's doing right now, the Jazz are going all the way. The Jazz are going to win a freaking championship. I was watching the Brooklyn Nets, and guess what? Rudy Gobert is going to wreak havoc on the Brooklyn Nets. You better watch out. And that team can't guard a statue. They can't guard a statue. And if this team is shooting the ball like they do right now, get ready, Brooklyn. We're coming. And the NBA is going to have to promote it because the Jazz are in the playoffs, and they're going to win lots of games. Yeah, I'm pumped right now. Rah! Rah! Guys, like and subscribe to the channel. I'm feeling it, guys. Can you feel the momentum? It's coming. It's coming. Get ready. Like and subscribe, guys. New production videos coming soon and a new logo. I'm excited. I get to see it tonight. I'll share it with all the members. You'll get to see it first, or at least the first draft. I'm excited. All right, guys, like and subscribe. I will talk to you next time.